Welcome everybody, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you for joining me. If you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also hit like, leave comment. I'd like for this to be interactive. All those things would help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And as an added bonus, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music. Just like this, we're going to talk about the double album today. And it's sort of a question. It's like, what makes a double album? Is it the number of tracks? Is it the length of time that the album is? A grouping of similar style songs, like one disc is rockers, one disc is ballads, something like that? Or is it simply because an artist says that it's a double album? And the reason I bring that up is with the recent release of albums by like Metallica, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, that they're calling a double album, and or the new Smashing Pumpkins Seer, they're calling it a double album. And these things don't quite equate to generally what I believe is the norm for the double album. And so I'm going to run through some double albums, kind of a thing, give the sort of overview of what that is, and ones that are double albums, ones that were double albums that are no longer double albums, and ones that could be double albums, things like that. And just looking at the idea of what the double album is. And so ones that I would consider are real double albums. And we're going to kick this off because it happens to be the Smashing Pumpkins release of Seer that is spurring this along for me. I want to talk about their first double album, the one from 1995, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. This one here was a total of 122 minutes long, so just over 2 hours in length. Obviously, that would not fit on a single CD of 80 minutes, and thereby easily qualifying that one as a double album. It has since been certified diamond, which is for 10 million sales. But here's the thing I want to point out. Double albums, when they are sold, count as two. So an album like Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness that has sold 10 million copies, in reality, has only sold 5 million copies. And that's going to lead into something a little bit later with like Metallica's album Hardwired to Self-Destruct, and why I believe they released it as a double album. Next up, a classic, Pink Floyd, The Wall, 1979. Total length of time on this was 81 minutes. And again, some of these may not make what is considered the length of time for that would be more than a single CD. But back in 1979, something that was 81 minutes long definitely would not have fit on a single vinyl. The album, incidentally, is also awarded diamond for 23 million in sales, but of course, in reality, it's more like 11.5 million. Next up, another classic, Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti, 1975. This one was 80 minutes. It has also been certified diamond for 6 million sales, and again, would actually be more like 8. And so a lot of these ones from the 70s may well have fit today on an 80-minute CD. Another one, Yes, Tales from Topographic Oceans, 1973. This one was 83 minutes long, so it definitely would not have fit on a single disc, which is why today it is still a 2 CD disc. This one, incidentally, has only been awarded gold for 500,000 in sales. But a lot of these albums from the 70s didn't get counting on by SoundScan, which came out in 1991. So a lot of these things aren't necessarily showing what the reality of the sales are for these. Quadrophenia, which is behind me over here, another double album, a classic, 1973, total of 83 minutes long, and it's been certified platinum. And again, because it's 2 albums, would really only be 500,000. But that's another one of those albums that I believe is actually higher and greater than it is. And then the final one that I'm mentioning, just regarding what I consider like real double albums, this Bruce Springsteen, The River. This one here, total of 83 minutes. It's been awarded 5 times platinum. Of course, actuality 2.5. But all of these are ones that will not fit on a single length CD. So now I want to switch things. We've pointed out some of the classic ones, what I consider some of the real ones, but then there's ones that I consider the fake double album. And I mentioned this one, we were going to tie into this, and so I want to talk about Metallica's Hardwired to Self-Destruct. This one came out in 2016. It's 12 tracks long. It's only 78 minutes long. Metallica's actually released albums longer than that were on single disc, not considered a double album. And this one here has been certified platinum for 1 million in sales. And again, remember, because it's broken into 2 discs, they actually count as 2 when it's sold. So really, it's only 500,000 copies sold. My belief is the reason that they split this into 6 tracks per disc, called it a double album, even though the total length of the combined disc is only 78 minutes and would have fit on a single disc, was so that when it's sold, they would reach a platinum sales quicker and look like they're doing better in this digital age where sales of physical CDs and of course with streaming is just much, much harder. I also believe that is why our next artist did it, Smashing Pumpkins' Seer. This one here, 20 tracks long. It's only 72 minutes in length. So, when we compare that back to what the Smashing Pumpkins did with 122 minutes long versus 72 minutes long, 2 physical discs, Seer is actually all on 1 CD. So it's a little mind-boggling that they're even bothering to call it a double album when they're issuing it on a single disc itself. No sales award for Smashing Pumpkins' Seer yet, as it just came out. And another one that was marketed as a double album, and it's a physical 2 CD set, Judas Priest Nostradamus from 2008. But I put this one under the fake category, even though it's 23 tracks long and 103 minutes long, so it does require the 2 discs. If they removed all of the instrumental atmospheric tracks, ambient tracks that are on this thing in between the songs and just gathered up the tracks that are the band fully performing vocals, etc., it would all fit on a single disc, and thereby I don't really consider this one a double album. I feel like they fleshed it out with a bunch of little instrumental interludes that pushed it over the traditional 80 minutes for a CD to make it be a double album. Now, this is just my opinion on things, but that's how I felt listening to it. Now, I also wanted to look at albums that were released as single disc, but could very well have been a double album, certainly based on what we're going through today and what we just looked at. One of them being Red Hot Chili Peppers and Blood Sugar Sex Magik. This one came out in 1991. It's got 17 tracks on it. It's 74 minutes long. So yes, it all fits on a single disc, but we've looked at albums that are like 72 minutes, the recent Smashing Pumpkins, Seer. So this one here has sold 7 million copies on its own. But if it were actually referred to as a double album, they would claim 14 million sales on that album. All right, another one, Metallica, their album Load from 1996. This one here is 14 tracks, 79 minutes long. And that's why I'm saying that one that, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, which is 78 minutes, and they released it as a 2 disc versus Load on a single, which is 79. It's 1 minute longer. So it's questionable why Metallica did that, because they have released albums that are longer that were on a single disc, and they didn't go through that. Now Load has sold, I believe it's 5 million copies on its own, and of course if it had been a double album it would be 10 million in sales. It would get the Diamond Award, right? But then this was 1996, was a day and time when CD sales were very high and easy to produce, so that wasn't even a marketing thing. And I think the double album today is more of a marketing thing as opposed to what it used to be, which was an event and when an artist actually had more tracks than could fit on a single disc. Another one being Tool, Lateralus, from 2001. 13 tracks, 79 minutes, approaching right at that 80-minute mark, but they could have easily separated that done, and it's gone double platinum. And of course, if they had released it as the double, it would be 4 million, right? But then I want to look at albums that are from the 70s, double albums that were released as a double album back in the day, but today they're on a single disc, and one of those being the Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street. This was released in 1972. It's got 18 tracks, but it's only 67 minutes long, easily fits on the single disc. It has not been a 2-disc set since CDs were released. And there's a lot of albums like that that say, double album or 2 album set kind of thing on them, because once upon a time they actually were double vinyls back before CDs and things came around that you could now fit that length of music on. Another one being The Clash, London Calling. It was a double album back in the day, 19 tracks, but it's only 65 minutes. Plenty of room for it to fit on an 80-minute CD today. That one has since been certified platinum. And then there's interesting things. There's double albums that have been released separately, and so they obviously don't count together, but they do sell for that double amount. And so one of those being Guns N' Roses and the Use Your Illusion albums. And these came out in 1991. Both albums are 76 minutes long. So even by themselves, I mean, this could have been considered a quadruple album set by some standards today. Each have sold 7 million copies, so total of 14 million. But again, if these had been broken down, that would have been 28 million in sales, right? So you can see how the marketing thing plays into this. Another one that was 2 albums released on the same day, Bruce Springsteen and his album Human Touch and Lucky Town. These came out in 1992. Human Touch is 59 minutes and Lucky Town is even smaller at only 39 minutes. Easily could have been combined into that double album idea, but he released them as 2 separate albums on the same day. I've still always grouped them together and thought of them as like a double album. Each one has sold 1 million copies for that. And then so in this grouping of the 2 albums released at the same time thing, there's also Metallica and Load and Reload, right? And so these 2 albums here, while Load was released first and then a year later Reload came out, the tracks were all worked on at the same time. Even though Reload they went back into the studio and fleshed them out a bit more before releasing it, they were recorded at the same time. It was going to be a double album and they opted to break it down. Load is 79 minutes. It sold 5 million copies, and Reload 76 minutes, 3 million. So again, looking at these times, Metallica certainly has explored the full depth of what an 80-minute CD can hold. And then the final one I want to look at here is actually what would be considered a potential triple album, and it's Green Day. And you've got their Uno, the Dose, and Trey releases here. And these came out in 2012. They were released a few months apart. So again, like Metallica, they were worked on together, potentially all going to be put together as a double album, but opted to release them independently. But they are a trilogy, and you've got Uno at 44 minutes, Dose at 39 minutes, and Trey at 46. So again, those could have been combined into a double album, but they opted to do the triple album, gain more sales out of it, in my opinion, more marketing. They're in the public eye longer, releasing an album every few months, as opposed to holding, several years in between releases and things like that. So just looking at all of this, back in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, a double album was an event. That was a huge ordeal for your favorite artist to be putting out that much music at that time. Today, for me, I see it more as a marketing tool, a way to look like you're selling more releases, a way to get more attention, to say, hey, I'm releasing a double album, which is a special thing from just a standard single album. And so I don't really think that a lot of the double albums that are being released today, especially the ones that fit onto single discs, really qualify for that true ultimate classic quality of what the double album was back in the day. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Leave your thoughts and comments. Let me know what is your favorite double album, and or what is your favorite fake double album. If you have any opinions on this and you want to weigh in, that would be great. I would appreciate it. I hope everyone has a good day. I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye-bye.